Hello, and welcome to part 2. If you were just watching part 1, we ended with our character Sophia and about her internal conflict and the tension that she has with her father because of issues that happen in the United States. So now we will be starting back off with our character Sandra. Our next character that we will be discussing is Sandra. Sandra is the second oldest of the Garcia sisters, and because of this, she has the most fondest memories of the Dominican Republic. When going to the United States with her family, she was a little bit disappointed because her ideals and desires of America didn't fit with what her parents had in mind. One thing that kind of messed up her ideology of what America had was when she saw a drunk woman kissing her father on the streets. Also, as a child, she was an artist and was an artist up into being a young adult, but was stifled as a child because she had a bad art instructor and sadly fell and broke her arm. Because she was unable to express herself because of her broken arm and wasn't able to do her artwork, it eventually led her into having a mental breakdown. This is because she wasn't able to express herself through her talents. Like her sister, Yolanda, her younger sister Yolanda, did with poetry. Like I said earlier, because Yolanda had a setback when going back to America with language, her internal conflict was her loss of language. Well, Sandra's internal conflict, again, is a loss of language. But this way, it is through her artwork. She felt an inability to express herself artistically or personally, like I said, which led to a mental breakdown, characterized by her belief that she was moving backwards instead of forwards into time. And this is very interesting also when it says that she's moving backwards because that's how the story is told and how the Garcia girls lost their accent. It starts from present and moves into the past. So there's a lot of really key important themes that can be recognized between all of the sisters. All of their internal conflicts are different, but they all come together and connect in a very specific way. The final Garcia sister that we will be talking about is Carla. Carla is the oldest out of all of the Garcia girls and feels the most out of place when going back to the United States. She's more comfortable in the Dominican Republic because that's where she was born and raised, and she's more comfortable with the language there. Out of the four of them, she had the hardest time fitting in because of the language barrier. The boys in her schools would bully her and were just very horrible and rude to her because of her limited language. And because of what she dealt with, it inspired her to become a psychologist and analyze her family's mental problems, what they were going with. So again, another internal conflict that she dealt with was one, fitting in, and two, language barrier. But in the end, her struggles helped her and for her family in the long run because, like I said, she moved on to become a psychologist. So now that we have discussed all of the characters and their characteristics and everything like that, let's talk about the different conflicts, themes, and questions that we should ask ourselves at the end of the book. So as far as conflicts, I have 4 total, and I'm going to list all of them and then move into them. So I have where is home, cultural identity, the girls forgetting their Spanish, and family solidarity. So let's go back to where is home. Like I was saying throughout this whole video of part 1 and part 2, some girls have fonder memories whether they're in the United States or the Dominican Republic. Carla and Sandra, who are the 2 oldest, see the Dominican Republic as home. That's where they are the most comfortable. Their first language is spoken there. They have family and friends there, and they know that they won't be harassed or bullied like they were in the United States. Whereas Yolanda and Sophia are more comfortable in the U.S. because they can freely express themselves through what they do best. Whether it is poetry, art, whatever they're best at, they can freely express themselves there. Some have mixed feelings about both countries. For example, Yolanda. She has memories in both the United States and the Dominican Republic and has had both good and bad emotions and mixed feelings about those 2 countries. Moving on to cultural identity, we see throughout the book that the girls tend to change their personalities, the way they act, and the way they dress, depending on what country they are. By referencing the back of the book from How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accent, we see that they begin to forget their Spanish. They begin to straighten their hair and wearing fringed bell bottoms. So that's what the United States during that era was seen as something that you had to do to culturally fit in with society. Also, from going to the United States, they begin to forget their Spanish. And once they do, it doesn't seem very important or as a big deal to them as it does to their family back in the Dominican Republic. Something else that is also very, very important, but is a conflict, is family solidarity. We see that Sophia and her father have issues reconnecting with each other because of what she did in the United States, and also throughout the book with the aunts losing connection with the four Garcia girls, and because they keep going back and forth and they're having a hard time choosing, that the family begins to break apart and demold. So really quickly, I wanted to go back into some of the internal conflicts that we see, especially conflict with the family. It all kind of starts and ruptures when the family has to leave to go to the Dominican Republic. So for example, let's take this orange. This orange represents wholeness, single, all one. But as the Garcia girls get older, they begin to peel away. Like you would peel an orange. They leave the United States. They run away and get married, breaking their arm, losing their language, and it just keeps going on and on and on till finally they are no longer one but are officially separated. So I'm going to move through this pretty quickly because the lighting is getting kind of wonky as the sun is setting, but really quickly I wanted to hit on some key themes. So one of them being the concept of home. Each of the sisters has a different idea of what home is. Like I've been saying throughout this whole video, the older girls see the Dominican Republic as home, whereas the younger sisters view the United States as home. Or again, like I've been saying, Yolanda kind of sees them as both pieces of her home and where she's from. She identifies with both the United States and the Dominican Republic. Identity is also a huge thing. Throughout the novel, the girls begin to change their looks physically and mentally based on where they are at the moment, again, whether in the DR or the US. One of these being our internal conflict, and a key theme is language. Whether it is helping them or against them, it can be seen as a barrier or something that's helped them get through different situations. It's seen differently from each member of the family, whether it's a cultural or literal. So some more smaller themes that are brought up throughout the book are gender, sexuality, sexual identity, society and class, foreignness and the other, and politics. They're not as key things as some of the ones that I mentioned earlier, like family, language, and identity, but they do come up throughout the book as well. So the very last thing that I'm going to cover is the main question that people will probably want to know or ask by even just looking at the cover. Do the Garcia girls really lose their accents, or how do they lose their accents? In my opinion, I feel like it depends on the character. For example, the two older sisters, I believe that they would typically, and they do go back to their roots and connect back with the Dominican Republic, whereas the younger girls might want to stay in the United States and try those new cultural and traditions of what America has to hold. But like I said, you just have to read the book to find out. This is an amazing book. I definitely recommend it. I had an amazing time reading it. As you can see, I took many notes. Here they all are. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you look forward to the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want more. See you guys later.